Hello, ladies and gentlemen, Conodger here. Welcome back to the parkour server. I mean the Mindcrack server for the 85th time. For real this time. Not kidding. I'm pretty sure. I'm mostly certain that it is the 85th time here on the Mindcrack server. How's everybody doing today? This is the start of a rather big week for me and for Mindcrack in general as we head towards the Mindcrack Marathon this weekend. So much to do, so much going on. Doing pretty good with the anxiety of it all, but it's definitely the time crunch has approacheth. Hello, son. Weren't you just over there? I think I'm usually good with like planning and staying on top of things, and I feel like I'm pretty decent at you know, maintaining a good schedule and planning and whatnot. But sometimes I have a flawed perspective on just how much time there is available when there's a big disruptor, when things change significantly, or if there's some kind of big event that maybe I wasn't expecting or prepared for, that's when things can start to, I don't want to say fall apart, but that's when things can start to get a little bit weird for me. And it seems as though this is, oops, I didn't want to do that. This event is falling in line with that, where yeah, I was generally feeling real good and prepared for the marathon and whatnot, and all the lead up to it, and I just kind of felt like, everything's gonna be great. I don't need to really worry or stress about it at all, which is nice. You know, it's good to feel that way. It's nice to feel that way. It wasn't true. It was not true. Well, really, it's just that I thought I would be able to pretty much, you know, just stay business as usual and not go too crazy or go ham with, you know, trying to make sure I was good on videos and whatnot. At the end of the day, it's going to be the case that there's going to be a little lull in videos and in streams and stuff like that. What did I just do? And that's okay. That's okay. I think that's the big thing for me, is still feeling okay about the idea of, you know, there being lulls or breaks in content, and that's a good change. I'm glad to feel that way, and really it's all community that's done that. It's feeling like people that watch my videos or streams or whatnot, in general, are watching and are supporting what I do enough that they understand that life is not always very set in stone. And a lot of content creators early on, I think, fell into the trap of not feeling that way, and that's how a lot of the burnout happened. so very many people that I either followed or, you know, respected or looked up to burnt themselves out on this stuff because, I don't know, I think people just didn't really feel that way, you know, years ago or ages ago. I didn't look at Friday's video. Somebody commented on a little bit more of the science of the water. And that comment is either deleted or hidden or something, because it's not there now. That happens on YouTube sometimes. I think one of the big things is, sorry to change subjects, people that have Creator Studio and you know, they post their own videos and they have integrations with that stuff. Their comments seem to go into a different pool than people that don't have Creator Studio and such. And in that, I get notifications for some comments, I don't get notifications for others. I get some comments in the Creator Studio only that I don't get on regular YouTube. It's very confusing. It's very confusing. But it doesn't, I don't know. At the end of the day, I didn't really want to science this out anyway. It was just going to kind of be what it was going to be. But what was I saying? Oh yeah, the burnout thing. And people just went so very much so full willy-nilly with the whole, I don't know, I would say borderline obsessive content creation stuff, and trying to, you know, live to a very strict schedule and lifestyle with that stuff, and it wasn't, obviously it was not healthy. It did not work out for most people, I don't think, that tried to do things that way. And it's certainly not that I don't respect them for trying to do things that way or doing things that way. I just don't see how it's sustainable to do things that way. Just because, and I believe a lot of this comes from guilt of the fact that, you know, most people consider this kind of stuff to be a dream job rather than a real job. I think it may be incorrectly, yeah, let's just look at waterfall from there. It incorrectly influences people to think that they have to treat this more seriously or more structured than they naturally wanted to, or, you know, naturally felt like made sense to make up for that. And I try my damnedest not to be that way. I try to just accept what I do for what it is, and I do it to the degree that I best can. And if that's not good enough, then I'll have to figure something else out in the future. And that's just the way it is. Yeah, that's my philosophy towards these things. I don't know where this subject just came from. It just came out of nowhere. All right, I'm gonna start hoeing. I'm just gonna start hoeing all around here, and you know, once I hoe it up enough, eventually we'll see what kind of hydration spread we have. And I think it's probably gonna be more than enough farm plots already. What I really want is what I really want is for some areas to dry out, and I want to make a little path going through here. Just kind of meandering path and little bridges over the water to get through here and farm the land. I do want this all to look quite, not natural, but just unstructured, not scienced out, not the perfect farm, but just something that looks like it happened over years. Like, hey, we need a crop for this. We need some plots. Where are we gonna put them? I don't know. Dig a little trench right here. And then it happens. And boy, if that's not a great analogy for how I handle my content creation career, I don't know what is. Where not a whole lot of structure. I'm just always trying and always, I'm not like innovating in any way, really. It's just that I'm always up to try something different or new and see if it works out. If it works out, it works out. And if it doesn't, hey, there's always something else to try. That's, I don't know, I guess that's a good way to be about things. But on the same coin, on the other side of that coin, maybe that's one of the things that, you know, is a success gate, something that holds me back. But I don't think it necessarily has to, or has to be that way. Pretty happy and excited about whatever level of success we have gotten here in the past couple of years. Nice. Oh yeah, I think there's going to be lots of hydrated plots. I don't remember how exactly the hydrated plots work. It's been a long time since I've done any farming. See, I think that one just did that. Now, if you stomp on them, they'll do that. But I think if they're not hydrated, they'll eventually just dry out like that. And that's what I want to see. I want to see which plots dry out and which ones don't. Now, some of these I'm probably not going to... I will not actually farm. Okay, yeah, I think some of those are changing. And there is a gap between dirt and water and height too. So it could be that blocks like right here may not hydrate. I'm not sure. We got our extended use cell. We're just gonna use it up and see what sticks. Maybe only half of these will actually work, but that'll be probably plenty. Before I do any, because it's gonna look, I gotta warn you, this is all gonna look hideous until we can actually get a farm going here. And then once I know where the crops are gonna be, that's the point at which I will actually start to decorate this area. So don't fret if you think this area is gonna look terrible. It'll come together. It will come together. Just like the marathon's gonna come together. I'm pretty sure of that. I think I feel pretty comfortable with all of that and the way that that goes. Because maybe that's how I do things, you know, maybe I do have such a loose structure with things that the way that the marathon always kind of comes together last second, and especially this year is coming together last second, and everything's planned a lot on the spot. I think that's a pretty familiar thing to me, but I definitely feel like that's something that makes some people more uncomfortable than others. I certainly know of some people in our greater community and some people that are going this year that maybe aren't as comfortable with that philosophy. But I hope it all works out, and I hope the date time doesn't change that, right? The hydration? No, it shouldn't. Yeah, I hope everybody has a good time, having a good time with it. Is there anything in particular? I'm trying to think. I've been pretty, not really hectic, and you know, I'm just kind of doing things as per the usual here, really. But yeah, I don't know that there's anything really specific going on with the marathon or anything like that I don't want to say like invested in, because I'm invested in the whole thing, but there's nothing that's like, you know, my personal pet project that I'm putting a lot of stress on myself with for it, and that's nice. That's good, you know, that I don't think I feel very stressed out about it or anything. So that should be good. All right, I think I've pretty much covered all of the happenings, the news, I guess it's not really news, but just the week's events. I kind of want to continue a little bit of the conversation that we had on Friday, even though I'm not sure that conversation really was extremely inspirational or helped anybody or was interesting to many people, but there's more to it that is important to me, including saying thanks to Shaggy. Oops. Shaggy! Thank you for your support on Patreon. Yeah, there's certainly more aspects to that subject, and they kind of stretch into what I was just talking about and the norms of the industry here, not like the norms of characters. Like, what show was a norm on? Cheers? I feel like there was a norm on a show like that. Anyway, it's because this is such a new thing still, there's a lot that's undefined about all of this, and the whole issue of, you know, the voice thing and all those realizations kind of stem from the fact that what I do here and what this industry isn't super well defined, and it's not really even defined, you know, how much of an issue that should or shouldn't be, how much content is enough content, how much on time is enough on time, you know, at what point are you not even, you know, putting in full-time effort into this, and you could go down a whole different road there of almost into workers' rights kind of thing, and and just, you know, the effects of, especially, I'll stick with what I know best, and that's, you know, American work ethic and things like that. And a lot of what I see there is that I think, for the most part, there's quite a bit of guilt in the workforce, and that might not just be, you know, local to me. That might be, you know, a worldwide thing for sure. But I do feel like there is a lot of work via guilt that happens, and what I mean is people overworking themselves because they feel basically guilted into it. They feel like they have to. They feel like they owe society or the world or their peers, their family, anybody. They feel like they owe it to the world to, you know, work as hard as they can and to work as hard as everybody else around them. And the truth of the matter to me is that's just not the same for everybody. And it's I think harmful for our society to try and shoehorn people into that mentality, and to shoehorn yourself into that mentality. I certainly see that happen, where people make their lives harder or miserable to try and fit into those norms, and they feel like they're not, you know, they're not doing their part and whatnot. Well, maybe that's just not how it works for you, you know? Maybe that's... I was gonna bring some water down here. But maybe that's just not... That's not the... I thought there was gonna be a duck there. That's not the way that your physical body works or your mental body works. Now, some people I know are just absolute workaholics. They cannot stop working. They have to work as much as they physically can and mentally can to feel good, to feel right. And I don't think that's a negative or a drawback by any means. I just think that it's a different philosophy. It's a different way of life, and there's nothing inherently wrong about it. Is that a drowned? Did I hear a drowned? I don't know. I don't know what that is. Maybe it's a zombie villager. Yeah, there's nothing inherently wrong. It's just different than how I work, or how somebody that I know works. People that I know work. It's people that, you know, I base my personal work ethic or levels on. And it does kind of dive back into that whole thing of like, well, what you do, is it really even work? And it's a shame that I do sometimes think about that, and I do sometimes feel that way, and I know people, you know, that do similar things to me have felt that way. But that's all like, you know, pure unfiltered social engineering level of stuff, of philosophy, and what I'm getting at is it's a subject for people that are much smarter than me, or much more knowledgeable about this kind of stuff than me. The only thing I can really comment about is my personal relation with what I do, and the effects that has on me. And I've been really diligent about trying to make sure that I have a healthy relationship with what I do, and how much I do it. And here's the grand point. Here's the grand scheme. I think that the fact that I have physical restrictions to how much I can do significantly helps how I have mentally handled the whole thing. Hold on, let's think. Let's thank Frank. I just, nah, we'll do thanks. Thanks, Frank. Oh, man. But yeah, I really do think that the fact that I physically might not be able to keep up with my peers or people that I look up to, people that I follow, or just other people in the industry, the fact that I can't keep up with them on a quantity standpoint actually is beneficial to me being able to feel okay with how I can do things on a mental standpoint, or not even mental, just like a, I don't want to say morals, but just a, hold on, I'll figure out these words. I'll figure out these words. Just you wait. Alright, so I don't think there is a simple explanation or a single word that really displays my feelings on this, but it's an effect of the fact that I have the physical restriction helps me stick to my mental, we'll say, virtues of how I like to make content, and that is that I've always been, you know, pretty, I'll say, stuck on the idea that what I do should be quality in my mind rather than quantity. At the end of the day, I want to make things that I'm proud of, and my qualifications for that are quite ridiculous, if I'm honest. A lot of the times, I delete videos and I, you know, get rid of VODs or just don't feel good about streams for stuff that people in my own community will say, "What are you talking about? That was totally fine. There was nothing wrong with that. You're you're being too hard on yourself." However, that is a whole different subject for another day. It's just how I do things and how I feel about content in general. Is this potatoes? No, it's carrots. Which of those? Oh, so many carrots. Oh, I need some inventory space. What don't I need here? 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 I guess I don't need this gunpowder or this flint. There. But yeah, it's almost comforting to me that through having to have the physical restriction, it's really helped me hone in my ability to focus on the quality of what I do. I don't always think that what I do is of better quality than anybody else. Not everything I do ends up being high quality. But I feel very comfortable with my approach towards committing to it. And I do think that is something that's kind of unique, at least to me. And it's, you know, it's something that's defining me a little bit, perhaps. And that in itself is something that I feel good about, you know? Whether people on the outside feel the same way, I really don't know. Honestly, I would expect probably not. I would expect people probably don't usually see that what I do, I am putting in, you know, I'm putting in incredible effort to try and make sure it's quality. But as long as I know that, then it's okay. So this all kind of comes to mind because I often see some, you know, peers and community members that are feeling guilty for whatever different aspect of what they do here, in that they aren't doing good enough, and they aren't doing enough, and they aren't living up to maybe expectations or things like that. And it's really tricky, and I don't know how we're gonna get there. I don't know how, because this is all such an independent, you know, workforce kind of deal. How do we grade ourselves, and how do we keep ourselves from pushing ourselves too far? And how do you keep yourself from feeling either you know, like a failure for no reason, or feeling like a success for no reason? That coin flips both ways, where, you know, you gotta have realistic expectations of success and failure. And how we define that You guys didn't see this. You didn't see anything. How we define that is something quite unknown to me. It's Player Unknown's Battleground. No, it's just, I don't know how personally to feel like I know how to measure my own success or my own effort or my own I don't know, progress and such. It's a thing that independent contractors and independent workers everywhere all the time have to deal with. It's a huge part of this kind of job. And I don't know that people put enough emphasis on that or put enough respect into that attribute of this. So many people that I see only grade themselves based on their on time. Completely either degrading themselves or just, you know, being hard on themselves for what they do while they're streaming or while they're on video. But there is so much more to it than that. It just doesn't always feel like it is part of that, I think. It's sometimes hard to think that the community management side, the editing side, the stream setup side, the self-grading side, like I was just talking about, having to figure out your own progress, give yourself your own progress reports and stuff, and figure out if what you're doing is working or not. Trying to figure out what's next for you, what is working and what isn't working for you. All of that stuff, you may not be logging in hours, you might not be getting a product out of it, but it's still part of the work life, you know, it's still part of the workload. And I don't know that people are crediting themselves enough for that side of things. Some people do it better than others, and some people, sure, some people are working at this harder than others. I will not... That surprised me. I guess that was a block update that did that. Well, that's the way the water went, and that's the way the water will go. Yeah, some people, for sure, put in more effort than me, and I applaud them for it, as long as they're doing it healthily. You know, as long as they're doing it and it makes them feel good, then sure, go ahead. And I wish you all the success in the world. But it's not going to be the same for everybody. It never will be the same for everybody. So, you know, I guess just kind of measuring expectations is very important, but also respecting yourself for what you do outside of what you're doing on camera is important. And that's one thing that I feel like, to some degree, I have accepted, and something that I worked on very early, and I'm very happy about that, because it has helped me with the physical restrictions. I know now that there's so much more to it than just the on-camera time, which is where the restrictions, you know, really come into play. There's so much more to it than that I can't just grade myself based on the amount of on time that I have, or the fact that I have less on time than others. And I've you know, I've listened in on people saying, you know, that they think that they don't do a good job because they don't spend as much time with the community as others, and they don't do a lot of behind the scenes work, or they don't do as much you know, homework to work on, you know, new projects and you know, be groundbreaking in different ways. Sure, you might not do that as much as others, but you probably are excelling in other areas that make up for it. There's just so many pieces of this puzzle, and I don't want to see people discredit themselves for, you know, not doing as much as others. Thanks, Christopher. I don't know how to say that exactly, but thank you. yeah, don't discredit yourself for not doing as much as you need to. You have to look at the whole picture. You definitely have to look at the whole picture there. And I'm not saying that every single content creator out there is perfect, and that anybody that's making YouTube videos is doing a fine job. That's not true. And I've definitely come down hard on myself in the past for, lacking in areas or not doing good enough in something. And, I just try to take the steps to improve that. But at the end of the day, actually it's the start of a new day. At the end of the day, I've embraced, well, maybe not embraced, but I've accepted my personal restrictions, and I've used them to shape the way that I handle what I do. And it's just one wheel in the gearbox. It's not the gearbox. It's not a cog. It's not a bad gear in the gearbox. It's just one of the gears. I've figured out how to use that gear in the gearbox. Would it be nice if that gear was, having a 2-to-1 ratio instead of a reduction? Sure. But that would probably just mean that one of the other gears would be, overused or underused, and it all would balance out in the end. I've come to grips with the gearbox that I have and tried to use it to the best of my ability. Going over to the skeleton farm to see if there's any bones, because I need lots more bone meal. I want to get all those cropping before I leave for the marathon because of reasons. Just in case we hop on the server or whatnot. Holy! You think Rayuski's ever gonna come finish this tree? I don't think so. Shh, don't tell him. Don't tell Ryu. Yeah. This all felt very random. I don't know that my thoughts on the subject are as poignant or clear as my thoughts on some other subjects, but it's certainly something that crosses my mind, and it's something that I hear pretty often. When I hear my friends talking about, how they are doing with their online careers here, I personally have been on that fence where I have felt guilty. I have felt like I'll never be as good as anybody else, or I don't even do this industry justice because I don't put in the same amount of time behind the camera as everybody else. I don't... The amount of content that I produce is significantly less than a lot of people that haven't had nearly the same level of success as me, even though that same level of success isn't, blossoming and blooming and crazy, and still makes me feel like, well, I don't deserve this. Those people that are, putting in the effort, they deserve it. Well, I've tried to kind of go back to that last subject of, I've tried to make sure that I see everything in a bigger picture, where there's a lot more to it than just the time on camera. And the people that spend more time on camera, they're not doing anything wrong, and I'm not like jealous of them. It's just that they get to and they do things differently than me. And that's the fun, that's the perk of this kind of industry. That's not something that I should feel bad about. That's something that I should feel good about. That's something that makes me want to do better at this, because that's the kind of industry that I want to be part of. That's the kind of career I want to have, is the kind of career where I can measure my own success, and I can, use my own strengths and weaknesses. Whereas in, like the retail job that I had, you're pretty much limited into the box of what somebody else has decided for you. Somebody has decided for you what your success rate is and what your role is, and you know, what your expectations are. Whether those are your strengths or weaknesses ends up being irrelevant, which is a pretty significant deal. You know, that's not a small thing to think about. Now, maybe some people that works better. Maybe some people want to be told, you know, what are your strengths and weaknesses? Here's what we expect of you. Some people thrive on that. I don't know that I thrive on that personally. I think I'm gonna stack 2 workbenches on top of each other. I think that I kind of work a little bit differently, and you know, I'm happy about it. I feel good about it, and that's that's really nice, because there's not a whole hell of a lot in my life that I've been like, you know what, I feel really good about this thing about myself. That's not usually an emotion that I carry very well. So I guess what I'm saying is I'm happy with where I'm at in regards to that stuff, and that's pretty neat. That's pretty cool. I hope that does carry me somewhere, and that, you know, that it keeps going this way, and that I hope the friends, the peers that I have that maybe struggle with feeling guilty about what they do, I hope that they can feel similarly eventually, and hopefully I can help them feel that way, because I don't want people to feel bad about what they do or how they do it. If what they're doing is making them happy, and what they're doing is making them a living, then that's, to me, that's the dream. That's why we do what we do. That's why people push for such things. Is it easy? Not usually, I don't think. I don't think it's an easy route to take by any means, but the reward can be really good. The reward can be really good. I don't think it has to be really good, and it certainly can be something that just ultimately doesn't work for somebody, and it's actually a negative for them. But I don't know. I gotta figure out, and I think we all have to figure out, everybody that's part of this kind of stuff has to figure out for themselves and together as a community, has to figure out how to balance that situation. You know, how do you know when enough is enough, and how do you grade yourself, and how do you you know, give yourself your performance reports and such. It's a part of the job that they don't tell you about. YouTube Creator Camp, they don't give up about that. They're not going to tell you anything to do with that. Your Twitch partner manager or Twitch guides, they don't care about that kind of stuff. The only thing they care about is how can you grow, and how can you, you know, get more viewers, and how can you earn more revenue for their company. Because Twitch, YouTube, whoever, Mixer, game studios, whoever, they don't have any value in your personal measures of success. That's not the way the world works. At least in my mind, that's not the way the world works. So that's completely on our shoulders, and I don't think that they're always going to be upfront about that. They want you to measure your success based on their level of success. Yeah? Boy, what a tangent. What a crazy tangent. Well, it looks like I'm not going to get all my crops done, but maybe I'll be on here in some downtime, spreading the crops. It still looks super ugly, but I think once we get the crops in there, it'll look fine. Unfortunately, I won't have the pathway done before the marathon, but I don't know, maybe we'll be on here or not. If not, we'll get back to it when we get back from the marathon. Thank you all for your support. I don't know if there will be a Mindcrack on Wednesday or not. It depends on if myself and Brian can squeeze in that recording at some point. I'm not sure that we will. We shall see. Thank you, as always, for watching, all of your support, listening to my rambles, and I will see you next time.